let's start with the tinder box moment at the end for Melbourne.
Yep.
So this is raw. They have performed so wholeheartedly throughout the day. Max Gawn tries to open the play up. It's not the right play. It's the kick that slews, and it's gone in that moment. And Stephen May, he clearly said the wrong thing to the captain in that moment while it's so raw.
Yeah, and this will be a great big talking point because it's emotional. It's the best big man that we've seen in a generation of footy. A firebrand fullback who wears his heart on his sleeve, and this tells you how much it hurts. Beyond that, there's nothing in it, which I'm not saying it's not a story. It's a great big story, and we'll hear because Max has spoken. I think that's a great thing. But this is what happens when you invest in a game of footy for 2 hours and it comes down to moments and it's a singular point, and in the dying seconds, a man who's led this side for the last 10 or 8 years makes one of his rare mistakes, and then Stephen May, in his competitiveness, has gone to him, and I don't know what he said, but it clearly didn't resonate, and Max has reacted totally reasonably, I would imagine, and gave him a little screw of face and shove away. Beyond that, that's live sport. That's what I love.
All right, let's head downstairs. Max Gawn did speak. John Ralph was a part of that. He's ducked back to the Magpie rooms. Ralphie, what did Max have to say?
Well, I think in his worst moments, Stephen May could very much wear on you as a teammate. Both of these players were fantastic. So high drama there in the rooms. As you just said, Max Gawn marched straight into the deepest, darkest recesses of the rooms. The pair did not come together at any stage there. So Stephen not keen to clarify his version of events. Max certainly, as he has so many times in times of trial for this football club, was prepared to talk to me and a couple of other journalists. So for Fox Footy, he said, and I quote, "He wants us to win as much as I do. It was a disappointing last 30 seconds. I'm not actually sure what was said. It was so loud out there." But he just kept repeating, "We're two players who really want to win." So as he said, it was effectively a 2% chance end to end, about 35 seconds on the clock. He knows that there was very, very little likelihood that this was going to be an end-to-end play. He said he was called to play on as well. He was surprised about that, having taken that mark. We know, of course, the result of that shank kick there to Will Hoskin-Elliott there. So, as I said, he isn't actually sure what Stephen May said to him. I think if you're any kind of lip reader, you'd imagine you know exactly what he said back to Stephen May. And so hopefully the club is feeling that by putting up Max Gawn, they can turn this into a one-day story. It's a story that's really titillating with a lot of tension between two great teammates, both of them amazing on the day. But yeah, unfortunately, it won't take away from the real positives from this contest. But it will something that will take a little bit of the gloss off, and hopefully Max Gawn has come some way to explaining.
Ralphie, thank you. As Simon Goodwin will be with us at the desk shortly. So,
where do you think it goes?
So is there a conversation later tonight between the two? A text message exchange just to...
I'd imagine it'll be had within an hour, if it needs to be had. But do you think it... I mean, we, the media, will either perpetuate this or not. And probably until we hear from Stephen May, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It really only exists whether there's any tension between the two of them in the aftermath, because the way that you have depicted it, it's raw and they lay it all out there and it's a moment of frustration. And don't be chipping the captain at the end. He didn't mean it to go wrong like that, and maybe the team rule is a little bit different, but as long as they're okay, then we'll be okay. But it's an unusual moment to see, and it speaks of the high tensions at the end.
And it speaks to them being their authentic selves is the other thing. I don't know if Stephen is the most diplomatic person in the best of times when there's a game on the line and you've lost it by a point in front of 80,000 plus. So they'll sort it out. I have absolutely no problem in the world that they'll sort this out.
Shall we take a moment to revel in the day? I think we should. This is so brilliantly staged now, and it's not just a day on the footy calendar, it's a day for the whole community. So the King's birthday really is Big Freeze Day at the MCG, and 10 Australian celebrities led off brilliantly by Ariane Titmus, who she had the moves. She's watched Greece so many times. I thought Cadell was 3 votes, Mini Max, and for Max to be there at the bottom of the slide, Peter Dacos, well, of course he would. Of course he would.
Actually, this is the first time I'm seeing the whole lot back to back, so I'm getting you're getting the first reaction here, so I love that from Dace. Loved Ariane Titmus.
Matt Nabel as Angus from AC/DC, Liz Watson with Margot Robbie's Cowgirl Barbie.
Nice.
Matt Shervington came as Thor.
Of course he did. Outstanding.
Knows how to command the stage, doesn't he?
A rig like that,
ended up with a cape all over their face. A bit of levity there. Alyssa Healy went Shazza.
Oh, I love
Kath and Kim.
That's magnificent.
Just the right level of bogan and a nod to Shane Warne as well.
Beautiful.
Aaron Davey, Michael Long, the long walk.
Ah, nice.
He had it really going too. Mad Max for Craig Lowndes. And Warney
Yes.
for Mark Taylor.
I actually saw that, but I didn't have any audio. I was hoping that he'd come and warn him, not had come into himself, because otherwise he'd miss the brief, Tubby. So that was nice. Very good.
And then scenes that will last in football history, just as EJ's lap did here at the MCG. The move around the boundary, the winter sunshine peeked through. Neil Danaher greeted by all the Melbourne players one by one, and at various stages with grandkids in tow and children around, pausing at the fence for some that were recognised and some that weren't. And look at the beanies.
Yeah.
Look at the beanies as the football world got to show Neil Danaher how much he has meant to all of us.
Yeah, these are iconic pictures that we're seeing right here, and to both clubs that have become, symbolic of the day, and the way they respect Neil and the way that he's contributed to this day it's just so humbling. You run out of words in the end, Gerard. I was here that EJ Whitten day, and this was every bit as emotional. So, and then they both teams went out and honoured him, which I think was really important, particularly from Melbourne's point of view. Collingwood sitting on top of the ladder and taken all before them, and Melbourne had coming off a really disappointing loss, and they had to find something for him, for the day.
Yeah.
And the day is Neil, so they had to find something for him, and they did, and they made it a memorable occasion. So
right from the outset, and it was on as Melbourne did bring the challenge. They brought high energy. The spirit was willing. If the body wasn't always quite up to the task, Sparrow opens with a long-range goal. The pressure of that opening term was worthy of the 77,500. And Cosy Pickett's moments, Howe throughout was absolutely brilliant, Jeremy Howe. The early forays, it was 2 goals each at quarter time.
Yeah, it was, it's hard going. You can't score against this Collingwood side. So to be in touch throughout most of the day, I think Melbourne would have taken that. Josh Dacos was doing what he wanted in the back half. Cosy, there was a little bit of magic. Yeah, a bit of stuff sprinkled everywhere. You had to work really hard, Cosy, to have an impact in the game. And then this man, talking about magic, that was straight after the Pickett goal. So it was just like Scott Pendlebury said, no, we need to maintain this gap, so let me get to work again. Now, as I said, I don't think it was the most skillful game I've ever seen, but in terms of consequences for actions, and you had to go at your time to go, then it was right up there. But gee, they did hack it a bit, both sides.
Yes, as Collingwood's poise was just a little bit better, but the difference was their entries inside 50, which is a well-worn tale with Melbourne. They had slogged away through the second term, entry after entry after entry, and then that after the half-time siren from memory makes it 8 points.
And that and your ability to convert your opportunities, Gerard, and I know it's been a theme for Melbourne. Last week was horrendous, but it just, as I said, I was just a supporter in the stand, and you just knew when they got their opportunities, Collingwood, they'd take them, and then Melbourne had chances to kick set shot goals and couldn't quite get there, and then they go they go the distance, this Collingwood team, and make you pay. But then Fritsch got on a little bit of a cameo, and things started from about this point, halfway through the third quarter. They got it back on their terms a fair bit, Melbourne.
It looked grim at 20 points down, like it was going to get away, and then a few things that hadn't been working. Fritsch and Pickett did their thing.
We'll talk to Neil we'll talk to Goody when he comes in, but it was their ability to get the ball onto the ground when it went forward. So this sort of stuff here, I know it needs, Pickett gets a goal. I know it needs his magic, but the amount of times they kicked the Howe intercept, there was 20 intercepts both ways, by the way. But once they got the ball to ground, they looked a much more dangerous proposition. And then this man, whose first game back since Anzac Day, goes back and ices it.
Injured on Anzac Day, back for the King's birthday, and the moment that mattered most, a towering mark at the top of the square. And then we squabbled over a point from there on. It was 2, it was 1, it was 2, it was 1.
Bailey Fritsch had the mark, almost had a Nick Revolt moment in the goal square. And then this is the dying moments, which we've talked about. And we'll continue to be talked about for some time, and they just ran out of time from that point on.
So where it leaves Collingwood, they've got the nice cushion at the top of the table. Simon Goodwin will join us shortly and we'll revisit that. The cushion at the top of the table, which allows them to plot out the back half of the season. They couldn't have reached the bye having been more impressive or in better shape.
No, and they've got players that they can fold back in. Most demonstrably, Jordan De Goey is the one that we sit here and look at and say, what a back half weapon. then they can take their time with him, and Braden Maynard will come back into that side as well. So players to come back. McStay back into the side today makes them better, I think. So, no, I think Craig McRae would be over the moon. Have they got the bye next week?
They do.
Yeah, well, that's a bye that's well earned and a bye that they'll enjoy. And Melbourne have got to go to take on Port Adelaide, and they're running out of chances to keep this season alive. Although if they play in the same manner with the same intensity, they'll give themselves a chance.
There's sureness in close finishes, and it works both ways, doesn't it? You have to beat them once or twice or three times, but they carry this belief, and it's well won belief that they will get you.
100%. And then you can go back, and I'm sure the boys on the couch will isolate moments, and Steele Sidebottom doesn't make a mistake. Like when he gets the ball, his calmness, and then he hits the target when he has to hit the target, and then as a Melbourne supporter sitting in the stand, I'm watching it go the other way and it just misses. Or one just goes over their head, and it gets turned over and comes back the other way. So that's where Melbourne need to get to. Now, this is the beauty of this Collingwood side, is that they've got these experienced players who are just playing very, very good footy right now. Can they keep this and maintain this until the end of September? I wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, that's the question of the season, isn't it? Are they in good a shape late in August and early in September?
They've had plenty of teams.
They are now.
Not plenty, but there have been teams at this stage that haven't quite got it done. But they're reliable, Gerard. I sat in amongst, there was plenty of them out there, and they're pretty confident in what they're able to do.
The Melbourne side of the coin is, I'd love to get that Fritsch moment if we've got it. So adrenaline's pumping. This is the Collingwood players inevitably do the right thing in the tight finishes. So when it's all about to overwhelm you and the opportunity arises, this was it, wasn't it? If he takes even a beat, he sees Sparrow and feeds it to him, or he goes back. And so the adrenaline is absolutely pumping, and he fancies he's the match winner. Yeah,
and that's one. And there's another, I don't know how quick we can get it, but there was another one that ended up in a Fritsch goal that came on a fast break, and they had Cozzy Pickett running inside 50 on his own, but he went long to the Max Gawn one-on-one. Their decisions. Now, they got out of that one with a goal because Fritsch was able to make a bit of magic. They could have made that a hell of a lot easier, Gerard, by just hitting Cozzy Pickett 25 metres out from goal. So all of these little learnings are frustrating, but in terms of effort, commitment to the cause, and they had some really good moments. I thought it was one of their best performances of the year. That's a credit, and that's a nod to the opposition as well.